Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Tom Davis of Signpost. We're here today with our friend Josh Brill of Wisetack to get on the lowdown on the kind of good, better, and best. Ultimately how contractors can give their customers choices and really increase the value of the job. Josh, we really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us today. But kind of before we get into our topic, I'd love to understand a bit more about your background. What attracted you to Wisetack, but before you start talking about you, let's really start talking about you and let us know here, what is that one pizza topping that you're never going to put on pizza?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm super excited to be here. I would say anchovies. I'm not the biggest fish guy generally, and I certainly don't think it has a place on pizza. So I feel good about that answer.
So you feel the anchovy only belongs in a Caesar salad dressing?
If that.
Okay, fair enough. Anti anchovies here. And what about your background, Josh? How did you find Wisetack? What were you doing before? What
Sure.
led you to them?
So I've been in construction tech for a few years now. I was working at Angie under the Home Advisor brand for a couple of years, just kind of, general biz dev there. From there, I went to a company called Knowify, which is project management software, great project management software.
Sure.
For kind of residential GCs, commercial subcontractors, but worked with a ton of really exciting contracting businesses through Knowify. Kind of caught the bug to stick around in construction tech. Ended up finding Wisetack, which is sort of at the nexus of construction tech and fintech. So what we're doing is buy now, pay later software. Let me restart. Buy now, pay later financing software for offline services. So that could be anything from home services, auto repair, elective medical, veterinary, really any kind of transaction that you'd be doing in person is somewhere that Wisetack could fit.
All right. I dig it, man. Well, good to know. I appreciate all that background. So, with that being said, let's kind of jump right in here. So, as you mentioned about kind of the services that Wisetack offers, we're here to really talk about giving your customers the best options and choices that ultimately can hopefully boost the overall value of your job, right? As you mentioned that this type of consumer financing can apply to a lot of different verticals. Obviously, we're here to talk today about how it really applies to the home services pro. Really for every service type, right? Like a homeowner wants to know that they've got choices, whether it's that repair or new installation. I myself was not given that kind of stuff with some previous home projects, and ultimately went with the budget option because I couldn't get financing, and it was a disaster. So, with that being said, based on your experience with the home service providers, are you seeing any particular industry services where, the homeowner expects to have a wide range of options?
For sure. So we're pretty versatile. We're in a number of the home services spaces and trades right now. But I would say we're pretty often seeing people using financing for remodeling, installations, things like boilers, water heaters, that type of thing. Or, a larger kitchen or bath remodel where, maybe you want to do it, but it's a little bit, out of your current price range. We give you the flexibility to make those choices and really have access to that financing with, quick and have access to the financing quickly and get those favorable terms to make everything a lot easier. And, give you that choice to get things done on your timeline.
Got it. And are you finding that it's more like repair or maintenance that drive the options, or excuse me, rather, let me rephrase that. Are you finding that it's really like the new projects that are driving it, or are people also looking for like flexibility with like just a standard basic repair or ongoing maintenance?
Yeah. So people kind of don't realize that this is an option for repairs also. And when you've got that option, it gives you, more flexibility in what types of repairs you're doing, and even whether you want to get that repair, or it makes more sense to get that, the appliance replaced. That's something we see all the time where, somebody's going to get a Band-Aid type repair where the contractor is going to have to come back and do the same thing a year or two from now. Oftentimes it's more economical to just do the replacement upfront, the financing there, rather than have somebody coming back all the time to do that same repair on a piece of equipment that's never going to, work at 100% capacity again anyway.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I'm kind of curious, like when you're working in the world of contractors, what does giving the customer choice, like what does that look like? I've seen like with some previous guests we've had on when they talk about empowering their sales teams of kind of offering good, better, best, and that, the job isn't just about the raw cost of materials. It's more about the broader solution itself. Do you have any of these examples that you can really share that illustrate, what that looks like and how folks can kind of take that variety to the homeowner to really show additional value?
For sure. I would say that it's just a super important tool for the contractor to have in their belt. Again, just giving that homeowner choices when you're going out on the job does go a long way. And they really appreciate that. So again, that repair into a replacement example that I was talking about, if you can give a homeowner that option where, they can get a different type of project than they anticipated coming into the contractor's visit to the home, that goes such a long way. And it really helps build the relationship between the contractor and the homeowner, which is, as you guys know, a super important part of the business.
Yeah, definitely. And that, I also imagine too, right? When you're giving those options, you end up with like scenarios of like pros and cons. Like, you've got durability of, that individual repair, right? We can fix it today, but it's never going to work quite the same. So do you just go ahead and kind of rip and replace versus the kind of, Band-Aid piece that you mentioned? What are some of the ways that contractors, I don't want to say, necessarily nudge them to the sale, but like, how do they positively influence the customer, right? Like, we've talked about being the trusted advisor to the homeowner. What does something like that look like? We understand that it's all about the knowledge of the project, but like, what are they doing during the process to build that trust, earn that trust, and really say like, look, this is what we think we should do, and here's how we can make sure that we can afford it in a meaningful way?
For sure. That's a great question. I think that being knowledgeable about financing, because people, if they see it on the offer or they see, that you're the type of contractor that is going to offer financing, people are going to have a couple of questions for you about it. And you want to be able to answer those. But I would say the great thing about Wisetack is we really take a lot of the guesswork out of the equation. So the contractors don't have to memorize, 100 different options that the homeowner might take. Homeowners getting all that information themselves within a couple of minutes once they fill out our very, very short application. So that can all be done in the living room, and it kind of becomes a collaborative process between the homeowner and the contractor, kind of figuring out what works best. Financing, you might not think of it as something that would bring a homeowner and a contractor's relationship closer than it was before. But I think having those options that I mentioned earlier, and the fact that nobody's, out to get anybody with, gray area or shady tactics to take on a loan that they might not quite understand, because everything is so clear. And, we're not charging anything like late fees, compound interest. It's a soft credit pull. So the customer friendliness of the product goes a long way towards building that relationship even further.
So you mentioned that the contractor kind of needs to be a little bit familiar with financing as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's like bare bones basics that you recommend that like, hey, here are the things that you might want to understand before you start pitching this, or how does that work?
For sure. There's always some basic information. So for example, the loans will go from $500 to $25,000 right now. And the loan terms will go from 3 to 60 months. Basic, information like that is always great for the contractor to know. We've got a great team that's happy to go out and train these contractors,
right,
or send out materials that some of your techs can bring into the field, just like one-off postcards that they can go quote. But it's good to know a little bit, and questions might come here and there, but nobody needs to be an expert on this beyond, a couple of different facts. Beyond that, it's really up to Wisetack to make everything clear with our product.
Got it. All right. So you don't need to go back to school for this. You don't need to be a mathematician.
No business.
It's just basic. You can borrow up to X amount for X amount of months. No gimmicks, no junk. It's just pretty straightforward there.
Fill out this application, see what you can get, and these are the general terms. But no, we don't need any experts in the field.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know where I placed my calculator after the last time I used it on math homework.
Not in your toolbox.
Nah, man. All right, so let me ask you this. And so, like, all right, I've got a quote for $30,000 for a new roof or a new bathroom. How does the potential for financing have an impact? Change the cost of a job, right? Is it something where somebody says, I like the best option, but I don't have cash for it right now. And if I finance, I might go way over. So I'm going to go down to like the middle tier option. How can something like that influence a way for a contractor to make it easy for somebody to feel comfortable making the choice they're doing without potentially throwing off, the home finances?
Yeah, definitely. I think it does take a lot of the, nickel and diming out of the equation, where people aren't just going, deciding between maybe the lowest option and the second lowest option. And let's see which one of those actually makes sense. And then they end up going with one of those and they're not completely happy with the project. This really does open up possibilities towards the top of the scale, where again, homeowners can have the ability to look at projects that they weren't expecting to be able to afford going into the visit. That's something we hear from our contractors all the time. It's super, super helpful on that end. So yeah, I keep saying it, but that flexibility, while you're in the living room talking about the quotes, that's where we really change the game in the relationships.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like, again, with my own personal example, right? We weren't offered financing by any of the people we were getting bids from. So we just kind of went with what we had cash on hand for. Do you guys have any stats around, people that are leveraging something like a financing company to help upsell or rather help the homeowner make the right decision for their project once? Do you have any stats around that, around how it's increasing sales or increasing, customer happiness?
For sure. Yeah, we've seen that it can be equal to offering a 20% discount, being able to offer competitive financing when you're in the living room.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So that the effect that it'll have on your sales is similar to giving a 20% discount.
Just by offering finances, you're effectively offering a solution to say, you literally can't turn this down.
Exactly. And our NPS score is about 80. I'm not sure how familiar people are with the NPS system, but that's a very, very strong score, particularly in the financing industry. So we're very proud of that. And something that's a big part of our company is we're always putting our homeowners and our contractors first. We want to make products that people love. And I think we've done a really good job building that.
Perfect. All right, deal. So, you're helping people increase sales without driving a discount on their services. And then by doing so, by not offering the discount, you're driving happier customers.
Correct. So it's a good deal all around. I'm sorry, I've got a very angry dog right now.
No, your dog's just like the science, the numbers.
He thinks the doorbell is for her.
It's a very passionate dog.
So yeah, it really is a win-win all around. Homeowners love us, contractors love us. And I think that it doesn't take a lot to see why that is. And we're certainly happy to show anybody who's interested what that'll look like.
So how, I keep harping on this 20% discount to increase sales, even though you're not discounting just because you're offering this. Are you finding that it's like the contractors helping the customer, feeling better about the decision that they're making because they're in the driver's seat and it's not like you're removing options off the table? Like that's got to have some sort of like crazy effect to them, right?
I think that's a big part of it. Just like being able to go into a project and choose the option that you want without being 100% tied to a preset budget. Just makes people feel better about the decision. And on the other hand, the contractors like it, the bigger ticket size is great, but, contractors like doing interesting work and they like doing the right project. So no contractor is going to feel good about doing a repair that they know, isn't going to hold up for more than a year or two. Like I mentioned, they feel a lot better when they actually do the replacement and they do the job right the way it was meant to be done. We allow more of those types of projects to be able to happen.
What is, now I'm really curious about this. And I'm really upset that I was never giving finance options as a homeowner. Like, what is the turnaround time on something like this? Like you're in my living room, we're sitting over the kitchen table, whatever it may be, and we're looking at good, better, best. Is it pretty near instantaneous, or is it's
pretty instantaneous? So the homeowner is filling out their information, just, they get it over email or text message, and they can fill out the application right then and there. And they've got their answer within, a minute and a half once they go through our application. So Tom, I think we've gone through it a couple of times over the last couple of months. Happy to show anybody who's interested, but yeah, this is a pretty bang quick process.
Fair enough. I dig it. And that's, again, it's one of those things that we talked about with some previous guests. Tom Bosch over at Leap mentioned that something like less than 10% of people in the roofing industry offer consumer financing.
Yeah.
And that to me is just what an amazing way to get a competitive advantage over everyone else that's knocking on that door after the storms roll through.
Yeah, for sure.
I dig it, man. All right. So let me ask you this, contractor doesn't have to be a mathematician, right? You mentioned it's a soft background check. What does the contractor have to do? Do they have to do any background checks with you, or like how do they get started with y'all?
Yeah. So we've got a landing page with Signpost that'll be live by the time this goes up. And then we're just turning on the account. So we're doing, kind of a brief approval process, but nothing too major.
Josh, that's awesome to hear. I mean, it's, like you said, low friction point. It's a matter of just working directly with the team. Don't have to be the mathematician, as we said. Any other just general pro tips that you've seen from contractors that are now offering that flexible financing options? Anything top of mind, best practices, or something interesting that you've seen along the way that's really been meaningful for folks?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the big thing is bring up financing as early in the process as possible. That's going to give you a leg up on the other people who are giving quotes. If you can offer something that's obviously flexible and obviously, consumer friendly in the actual lending product, that's absolutely going to give you a leg up and help your chances of closing the project that you're going out on. Even if you don't think the client is going to, go through the options and pick exactly what they want today. That is something that's huge, and we've seen it a ton. I would also say contractors shouldn't be afraid to discuss financing in person. Sometimes people think it's a little bit of an awkward thing to bring up.
Yeah.
Homeowners want to hear about it. I'd say just get past that mental barrier, start talking about it. If they don't want it, they don't want it, no problem. But you never know who's going to want financing. And it's certainly something you always want to have, out in the open in your back pocket once you're actually trying to close the job. So get talking about financing.
All right, man. All right. So you heard it. It's low barrier. It gives the homeowner the confidence to make the decision that they want to make. They're not being forced to settle for a lower tier product when they can certainly get that variety in terms of the payment options that are available. Like you said, it's pretty straightforward to get up and running as a contractor. It's going to separate you in terms of the value that you can bring, because you're not just a one and done solution. You can offer that variety. And as you said, get over that mental hurdle. Don't be afraid to not talk about it. We as consumers are so used to financing things. I mean, now we're financing phones on a regular basis. Yeah. People are very, very open to it. And again, it's that good, better, best. You're empowering the customer. They're going to be more likely to go with you because they can make the decision they feel good about. And you're providing an additional customer option that other folks aren't. So you're probably more likely to win the job there. So Josh, this is cool, man. It's always great to hear about kind of these ways that contractors can separate themselves from the pack. And again, empower that customer to do what's best for them when they've got all the options on the table in a way that somebody else may not provide them. So Josh, thank you so much again for joining us. It's been great to have you here.
Yeah.
For everyone that's at home, if you want to learn more about Wisetack and how they can kind of help extend those options to your customers and really empower them to make decisions best for them, reach out to the Wisetack team directly. That's going to be wisetack.com/signpost, be a joint landing page. They'll know you came directly from the contractor's corner, that you've got some familiarity with their product. As always, if you want to talk to the team at Signpost and how we can kind of help you generate more reviews after you've upsold a customer or help them empower on that decision, give us a shout. We're always happy to chat with you as well. And then as well, hit subscribe down below. We'd love to have you join us as we continue to put out these episodes, and hope that you can take some meaningful stuff away and apply it to your business.
Yeah, that's great. And thanks again for having me. It's a great time. Always happy to talk about financing and construction.
Cool. I love it, man. Well, thanks so much for joining us.